There are so many young people in particular who have decided to side not with the victim, Israel, whose people were massacred on the 7th and so brutally abducted, but have decided to side with the death cult that did that.
What inspires a terrorist, an assassin, to wake up in the morning and to decide, today I'm going to kill? Just as what happened last week in DC, when this 30-year-old gunned down and shot Yaron and Sarah dead at the prime of their life, with a whole life ahead of them. Where does it begin? I wonder the same question when I survived the mass shooting at our temple on April 27, 2019. A 19-year-old lived just a couple miles away from our synagogue. When he woke up that morning and came to our synagogue with AR-15 with the intent of killing everyone that was there, what inspires them? Where does it come from? So please kindly listen into this conversation with Mr. Douglas Murray, who has an understanding, perhaps, what is the foundation? What is this a result of? Which I'm sure we can draw our own conclusions after listening to this interview.
Douglas, I want to repeat what Jonathan Epstein said. He looked into the shooter's eyes. He was there, and he was also at Columbia, and he said, I saw the same thing in his eyes as I saw in the eyes of the protesters at Columbia. That's chilling.
It is, but it's completely to be expected. Some of us have been saying since the 7th of October massacre and Hamas's starting of this phase of the war, some of us have said repeatedly, why is it that across university campuses in the US and across so many of our cities, there are so many young people in particular who have decided to side not with the victim, Israel, whose people were massacred on the 7th and so brutally abducted, but have decided to side with the death cult that did that? Why is it that at campus after campus, young people have been chanting things like globalize the intifada? They've pretended, their authorities have pretended, these are sort of technical issues. Intifada could mean anything, like Sieg Heil is just high. No, it isn't. Intifada is a tactic which the Palestinian terrorists use repeatedly in recent decades, where they target Jews for annihilation through repeat terrorist attacks. And when these students have said, globalize the intifada, well done, guys. On Wednesday night in Washington, D.C., we got a glimpse of what that means. It means bringing terror to the streets of America.
Yeah, words have meaning. You talk about siding against the victim. I think about Yaron, that young man. He had bought a ring. He was about to propose to Sarah. Yaron's friend described him this way. He's a devout Christian, the finest friend I've ever had. Gifted language. This guy was brilliant. He spoke German, Hebrew, Japanese, brimming with ideas. He loved America. He was excited about visiting Texas for the first time. And I look at this, and then I look at that group that says they did this as an expression of anti-Zionism. We need more of these murders. Who raised these people? College ideology aside, who raised these people to think it's okay to kill the innocent?
You know, the problem is we have an indoctrination problem and a radicalization problem here in the US. We've heard a lot, not enough, but a lot about Islamic radicalization. We've heard a lot about far-right radicalization for many years. Well, this is a form of radical left radicalization. These people have been taught to chant murderous chants and to adopt a murderous cause. And it leads to this despicable young man gunning down two people leaving a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. in the hope that he was killing Jews.
Yeah, what a sad week it was indeed. Douglas Murray, thank you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube
when we
page.
Think about this and realize there are consequences for words. We have been taught this from a very young age. how we need to be very careful with what comes out of our mouth. We have been trained to be very careful not to eat poison, to be very careful not to eat anything that's harmful to yourself. But what about what comes out of our mouth? Why are we so concerned with what goes in? What about what comes out of our mouth? I still, till today, don't understand how and why the universities throughout America allow these protesters to come with their faces covered and chanting the mantra of free, free Palestine, global intifada. You know, if these protesters really believed in something, show your face. Let's see who you are. What are you hiding behind? Obviously, there's no idealism here. This is pure, baseless hatred. And this is the result. It was very clear when this murderer who murdered Yaron and Sarah, he said those words, free, free Palestine, global intifada. He was repeating the mantra that has been promoted, allowed on the campuses of the United States of America. If that would have been shut down on October 8th, perhaps Yaron and Sarah will still be alive today. One needs to recognize and appreciate the power and the consequence of words. We can't just say words and assume that they're not going to have any implications. Look at the implications that this had. There is blood on the hands of these universities who allowed, promoted these protesters, who didn't shut it down the minute it began. I still don't understand how come it's not outlawed to walk around with your face covered. As soon as a person shows up with their face covered for a protest, they should be taken away immediately. It should be illegal, and they should be taken away. Hopefully, if there's enough outcry from healthy thinking people that we begin to mobilize ourselves to get the universities to be able to shut these protests down vehemently and truly fighting anti-Semitism, then we will not have to bear any more losses as we have just seen it. May God bless us all. May God bless the soul of Yaron and Sarah. May they rest in peace. And hopefully their slaughter was not in vain, but that something good could come out of it so that this doesn't happen again. God bless you. God loves you.